Learn to free yourself from the shackles of fear, and you will immediately take back control and power over your life. Welcome back to another video. Thanks for dropping in. My name's Rick, and my goal is to help you realize the truth that feeling great is your natural state. So you've no doubt noticed over the last year and a half or so, there's been a big thing going on around the world, and unfortunately we can't actually say the word, otherwise YouTube flags videos. But even though this channel isn't its early days, I'd rather not take any chances. So basically, people across the world are living by and large in a chronic state of fear, and it really is, it's everywhere to see, really. I mean, I see it in work when patients come in, you see it on the news, you hear it on the radio, and you just get a general sense of fear, anxiety, stress, frustration, a lot of different negative emotions. Maybe it's the same in your own country, your own hometown, maybe it's a bit different, but the point is, it's substantially more widespread than it ever was before. In fact, not so long ago on TV, there's a morning television show, I believe it's Good Morning Britain. They were talking about a thing which sociologists, doctors, other medics have realised over the last year or so, and people have picked up on it as well. In fact, it's so common now, it's been dubbed, well, I'm not going to use the word, so instead of saying the word, the actual thing, we'll call it, let's see, we'll call it the Big C. So the Big C. Anyway, a lot of these people, they're noticing that they have the Big C face. It may not sound like it makes much sense, but basically the Big C face is where people seem to be aging more rapidly. In fact, in the last 6 months, it was between 40 to 50% of people in the UK believe that they have actually aged about 5 years. They believe they've aged 5 years in the last 6 months, and that was from around about the time the whole thing kicked off, which was in March 2020. So, and it's probably only got worse since then. Being perfectly honest, I don't really follow much of the mainstream news anymore, just for the same reason that it's just constant fear mongering. It's incessant, it's relentless, and there's a whole host of problems with living chronically in fear, which you may or may not be aware of. But to break it down to nuts and bolts with actual human anatomy and physiology, what it essentially does is it keeps you living in a chronic sympathetic state. So within the body, there are two main divisions to the nervous system. There's a sympathetic nervous system, and then there's the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, basically, it is the fight or flight response. It's what's responsible for getting you out of danger if a saber-toothed tiger should suddenly cross your path, or you need to like gain a massive surge in strength to lift a car off a child. You know, you probably heard the examples over the years where a mother somehow summons superhuman strength and lifts lifts a car off a child which has been knocked down. That's an example of the sympathetic nervous system in effect. And then the other division is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system. So think of them as like two pedals in a car. The sympathetic nervous system makes you go faster, the parasympathetic nervous system makes you go slower. Whenever you're stressed, you're in sympathetic mode. So all the blood essentially is in your limbs, because that's what you need to either defend yourself or run away. In the parasympathetic nervous system, the majority of the blood is basically in your internal organs, you know, for like digestion, your bladder, your heart, your lungs. Basically, it's supplying the main trunk of your organs. And what that does is it allows them to work more optimally, allows them to rest, recover, recuperate, replenish lost stores of fuel, energy, nutrients, things like that there. So essentially, sympathetic, fight or flight, it's all about the limbs. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. Your organs are essentially where all the blood is. So basically what happens whenever you're constantly stressed, it can manifest in all sorts of different ways, and you may have experienced some of it yourself. It can be stomach pains, it can be heartburn, it can be hypertension, high blood pressure, grey hair, hair loss, lack of sleep, pale, blotchy skin, a whole host of different different manifestations. So what we want to do is to get out of this chronic state of stress, which isn't just by fear, especially today, and get back into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And there's many ways to do it. First thing, and the easiest thing, is remove the root of all the fear. So what is the thing which is causing most fear in your life? Is it the negativity in the news, the radio, what you're hearing out and about? If it's out and about, then maybe you can't really turn that off so much, unfortunately. But so the thing is, you want to remove the stimulus, get rid of that there. Once you get rid of that there, then it's a whole lot easier. If you can't get rid of that, do what you can to minimize it. Other than that, it's about ways of just dissolving or neutralizing the stress by yourself. And there's so many ways you can do that, but some of the most powerful, which I find work really well for me, is one of them. The first one I would definitely recommend is just staying present. Because if you think about it, whenever you're seeing all these terrifying news articles, about this and that, and there's a lot of worry, frustration, stress, anxiety around you, what it arises from basically is projecting into a hypothetical future which hasn't yet come to pass or may never come to pass. You're worrying, oh, what if something bad happens to me or my loved ones, blah, 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 examples like that. Obviously, you don't want any of that to happen. Absolutely, nobody's saying that. But whenever you're constantly thinking about that thing or worrying about that thing happening, if it ever does happen, then your body basically conditions to this mind. So whenever you're living in the future, you're creating a new future mind inside yourself, and your body aligns to that. That's what emotions are, basically. So emotions are energy in motion. Thoughts are energy. Whenever you're thinking these thoughts, these hypothetical future thoughts where you're worried about something happening, you're creating this energy, this paradigm in your head, and then this translates down into the body and manifests as these chronic symptoms, or these symptoms of chronic fear, stress, anxiety. And the best thing you can do is stop doing that. Now, you can obviously think ahead and think back, definitely, but whenever you do it predominantly, if you're spending more time in the past and future than in the present, that's when you siphon all your energy out of the current moment. That's whenever you set yourself up to be stressed and stay in a chronic sympathetic state where you can't you can't maintain your health. Because also what happens whenever you're in your sympathetic state, I should have said earlier as well, your immune system is shut off because it's not needed. Like I said before, it's only the limbs which are predominantly needed to run away from a saber-toothed tiger. The immune system is not needed to stay away from, or run away from a saber-toothed tiger. So the immune system is deactivated. It is fully activated whenever you're in your parasympathetic nervous system. So this is another reason to really want to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, is just to let your immune system do what it does best. It protects you. It produces white blood cells, because white blood cells flow throughout the blood and fight invading organisms, bacteria, viruses, things like that there. So that's why we really want to get a handle on this and let go of the stress and the fear and the anxiety that's keeping us this way. Another fantastic, simple method which costs nothing to shift from the stressed response to the relaxation response is just breathe. I mean, the average person, they breathe very shallowly. In fact, when was the last time? Well, maybe you're different since you watched this video, but for most people, when do you think the last time is that they consciously breathed? I mean, fully breathed in. So normally we breathe fairly shallowly like this here, and we're not really breathing much now. But whenever you consciously breathe, you're fully inflating the lungs, you're letting the ribs move up and out, and you're filling your lungs all the way up to the top. We use very little of our vital capacity. Vital capacity is basically how much oxygen the lungs can hold. On any given breath, it might only be 20 to 30%, but whenever you consciously breathe deeply, it can go up to 70, 80, 90%, or even above. So something to be very mindful of. And even 1 minute of just slow, deep, controlled breathing can flush out, well, basically all the cortisol in the blood, a substantial amount of cortisol in the blood. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Cortisol is released into the blood in response to stressors. And it's good in the short-term burst because it gives you an energy burst to help you, again, run away from the saber-toothed tiger. And that's its main target, main function. But over time, it leads to symptoms of stress and anxiety, and that basically wears down the body. It results also in like a metallic taste in the mouth. So if you're feeling like a metallic-y taste in your mouth, that could be a sign or symptom of chronic cortisol level elevation. So even 1 minute of long, slow, deep breathing is enough to bring these cortisol levels down, all the way down. And the more you breathe slowly and deeply, the lower they will go. So that's just two really, really great things to do right now. It's just staying mindful of the present, stop projecting into a hypothetical future, which may or may not ever happen. Secondly, just learn to breathe more deeply. Whenever you do that there, do it more throughout the day, you're going to stay really well grounded in that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And if you're able to do this here, those two things, then I really believe that fear will no longer have a hold over you, and you'll be able to basically live the life that you want to live. You'll not be ruled by fear, stress, anxiety. You won't be glued to the television box worrying about, oh, what's going to happen? Because you're totally present. You're not worried. You're not passing yourself. You're not projecting into this future constantly, which doesn't serve. It just doesn't serve you. So hopefully this video was some help today. And if you have any questions, please just post away down in the comment section, and I'll reply as quickly as I can. And anyway, as always, thanks again for watching. All the best and take care.